Hey, welcome to another edition of Bluejay Banter. We're live here at Let It Fly Sports Bar in downtown Omaha, and we are sponsored by Equitable Bank, West Pacific Dental Group, Infusion Brewing Company, and BluejayBanter.com. And we're going to kick it right off by welcoming in assistant head coach Ryan Miller. Hey, Coach.
How's it going?
Good. How's summer going?
Oh, it's busy. It's been a very eventful spring and summer, but it's,
I guess summer really hasn't started yet, but you know, yeah.
Spring, summer, it all blends together these days anyway. Especially the weather of the Midwest.
Yeah,
like goes from 32 to 80. Give that
warm day out there today.
It's nice.
I thought we'd just kick it off by kind of talking about, we haven't had that many shows since the end of the season, so kind of kick it off with one of the coaches here, talk a little bit about the guys coming in the portal. First of all, Pop Isaacs, this is a guy we recruited pretty hard right out of high school. Yep. We were in on him a lot. Had a great year down at Texas Tech. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, obviously with Trey and Baylor leaving, first of all, we had to fill these spots with really, really good players. And Pop Isaacs, we've known this kid for a long time. I have really known him for a long time, basically since he's been in diapers, because I recruited out of his dad's AAU program called the H Squad many, many years ago. His dad, Rick Isaacs, kind of an OG of the AAU basketball scene. My first recruit, a kid named Darrington Hobson, who played for us at New Mexico, ended up being the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year over Kawhi Leonard and Jimmer Fredette, and had a fantastic game against actually the Creighton Bluejays in the pit a long time ago, where he scored and assisted in every single bucket in the second half. And we came back to beat the Blue Jays team, coached by Dana Altman. But I've known the family for a long time, known the dad a long time. He's like I said, an OG of the AAU basketball scene. Recruited him the first time around, but we had Ryan Nemhart. He thought the competition there with Nemhart and him was going to be a little tough, and so he decided to go to Texas Tech, where he had a great 2 years. He played in a league that's comparable or maybe better than the Big East and the Big 12. I don't know how many teams they had in the NCAA tournament. It's probably like 7, 8, 9. Probably one of the best leagues in the conference, if it's not, or in the country. If it's not us, it's them. And he was third team all conference. So anytime you can add an all conference player of that magnitude, and when you lose an all conference player in Trey Alexander, knowing that he's been there and done it, and they played in big games. They were fifth seed in the NCAA tournament last year, averaged 17, 18 points a game, 3 assists. He wasn't as efficient as he was his freshman year, but a heck of a player, and we can't be more excited to have him here at Creighton Bluejay.
Yeah. Now, with him, I can see, first of all, we talk about this a lot. On offense, our 1 through 4 is basically rotational, right? It's not like you got a point guard, you got a wing, so forth. But I would think with Pop, you've got another guy that can handle the ball and bring the ball. Same kind of situation like with Trey. You kind of replace him with the same kind of player, basically.
Being involved with the offense with Coach Mack, our keys are we want a couple of playmaking guys, like guys that can really get in the paint, either score for themselves, make for themselves, or play make for others. And we got that with Steven. We got that with Pop Isaacs. Kind of they'll play that dual role, kind of like Trey and Steven did last year. Whoever has the ball will take it to facilitate offense, put him in pick and roll, let him be a decision maker, coach out in the court. So Pop can play in pick and roll. He can get his own shot, and he can play make for others, and he competes his butt off. That's probably the best thing he does is he competes to win. And we're excited about adding him, man, especially in this NIL world. Being able to be in the ball game and be able to bring in talent in like Pop Isaacs keeps us at the top of the Big East.
Coach, I'm a little bit curious, and then I'm assuming, Tim, you want to talk about Jemiah Neal as well. I'm a little bit curious just the recruiting landscape now. Obviously, it's changed drastically over the past number of years, and you kind of see things, and then anecdotally you talk to people about almost how exhausting it is for coaches anymore, and especially with the NIL component, and you still have these kids that are doing the 5th COVID year, which will finally drop off after this year. I'm just curious your takes on all of it and how it's changed and what it's like out there recruiting now.
Well, number one, it's changed. I've been assistant coach at a pretty high level for 21 years. Memphis, Cal, Alfred, New Mexico, Dixon, TCU. Obviously here, obviously the landscape changes every year. The rules change every year. The rules engagement, I call them, change every single year. Either adapt or die, bottom line. It's a world that's driven by NIL, name, image, and likeness. If we want to be competitive in this new age, if we want to continue to be Sweet 16, we need to raise Sweet 16 type dough. And, the fundraising components is a crucial part of it. Coach Mack and our staff and the athletic department's been on top of that. Because if we can't compete dollar-wise, NIL is the new facility war. Back 10, 15 years ago, it was about facilities. Who can build the biggest, shiniest, brightest facilities? Today it's who can raise the most NIL. And the landscape basically doubled since last year when Cal took the Arkansas job, because it caused a trickle-down effect. Cal demanded $5 million NIL to take the Arkansas job. Well, then Kentucky tried to fill their spot. Multiple coaches turned it down to stay at home as long as they had NIL money. So the market immediately doubled overnight, which caught us a little off guard, to be honest with you. But again, we were able to compete and weather some storms, and we think we put together a very competitive team for next year. We may add one more piece, but to have Pop-Up Isaacs, to have Jemiah Neal fill in for Baylor and Trey, and then have Mason back, the number one three-point shooter in Big East last year, and then obviously Kalkbrenner anchoring this whole thing, being a three-time Big East all-defensive player, first-team all-Big East. Then you have Stephen Ashworth, his leadership, his knack for making big shots, his three-point shooting acumen, all that stuff.
Right.
You put that all together, I think we have a team that's very competitive in the Big East, and if you're very, very competitive in the Big East, obviously you can compete for national championships.
Do you see a point where, because people talk about this all the time, do you see a point where maybe there's going to be a point where the money, everybody's like, okay, we're tapped out, and it starts coming down? You know, I mean, they used to talk about that in pro sports, and yet those salary caps just keep going up and up and up and up and up.
Well, I mean, they talk about it. They've talked about it since they first introduced NIL. They talked about donor fatigue. And we're like, okay, the market's going to settle. No, the market's not settling. People want to win. People want to be competitive. People want Creighton Bluejays playing Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, and Final Fours, as do the Arkansas Razorbacks, as do Kentucky Wildcats, as do North Carolina Tar Heels. So it's an arms race. And you know, I wouldn't say here, what we have here, in my opinion, we have the power of the masses. We've been top 10 in attendance over the last decade or so. If we can tap into the power of masses and help raise the funds needed to be competitive in the new age college athletics, we can still be competitive at the national level and compete for national championships like this team's been on the cusp of over the last couple of years. Obviously, we've beat UConn 7 of the last 9 times, and they've won 2 national championships. So that tells you how close we are right there. We're knocking on that door. We're ready to blow it in. But we're going to need help. We're going to need community help. We're going to need administrative help. We're going to need donor help to be able to keep that going.
Sure. Give us a scouting report on Jemiah Neal.
Jemiah Neal, we love him. We love his he gives us a little something different than we haven't had the last 3 years since I've been here. He gives you a guy that can really play make off the bounce. You know, he wasn't very efficient, but at Arizona State, he was asked to do a lot, take a lot of tough shots, take a lot of late clock shots. But he's athletic, very athletic. He can create his own shot. We were very excited about his talent level. I think he's an NBA type of talent level. I think in our system he'll really thrive, especially if he buys in on our space and pace and cutting and movement system that we have versus Arizona State. And I think he's special. I mean, he was 91 percentile in transition finishes last year. He was 90th percentile in half-court finishes last year. So he's one of the top finishers in the country. Got to improve his three-point acumen. I think that will happen here with our coaching and our development and our ability here to create open shots where he wasn't able to get those open shots at Arizona State per se. So, you know, it just gives us a different dynamic that we really haven't had, a guy that can go get his own shot at any time.
Yeah, my son lives down in Phoenix. He's probably one of the few guys in the country that saw every Creighton game and every Arizona State game.
Yeah.
And the first thing he said to me was he creates a ton of mismatches on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, so, you know, losing Baylor, we wanted to get someone that was long-rangey, that could be versatile defensively, that could finish at the rim. Now, yes, like I said, next year he's going to have to improve his three-point acumen, and when he gets through June 2nd, we get going to work that week. You know, we're going to start the process of trying to get him more efficient. But he gives us a different dimension of athleticism. Next year's team, I don't know if this will be good as the last 2-year teams or the last 3-year teams, but I'll tell you, it'll be a little different dynamic with our athleticism with him and Larry Johnson. We're going to be more athletic than we have been in the past.
Yeah, that's a great transition to the freshmen. When did they get here?
They get here June 2nd too, so
okay.
I mean, as long as they get all their academic work done, they graduate, they'll be here June 2nd to move in. Obviously, I think we got one of the top classes in the country, not by only us, by all the people that rank them, 247 Sports, ESPN, all those places have us in the top 20, top 15 in classes. Jackson McAndrew, 6'9", 6'10", one of the best shooters. I've been coaching 20 years and scouting out Division I talent for a long time. He's one of the best shooters I've seen at that size, at that age. Really knows how to play, really knows how to get his shot. My brother Mike always says it's one thing being able to get make three-point shots. It's another thing to be able to find them. And Jackson already has a knack for finding shots, And when you're a shot maker and you can find the shots, good things kind of happen. You shoot high percentages, and he has that knack. He's a special talent. We're lucky to have him. Larry Johnson's one of the most dynamic athletes in the country, bar none. He's as good in his transition as there is in the country, finishing. A dynamic two-way player that's going to be one of the best defenders for us next year. And then Ty Davis, who was played in the state championship last year, was Alabama State Player of the Year, one of the best passers in the country. So the class is filled out pretty strong. And then obviously with the 2 transfers, we feel like we're pretty good. We're built for next year's success, and we're built in the future.
Sure. And you said you're still, obviously there's still guys out there looking for a home, right?
Yeah, there's definitely is. I don't know if we're going to add anybody on our end that's going to really challenge the starting crew or whatnot, or our depth. We'll probably add maybe a development guy, or unless something happens. Something could happen. We got 1 scholarship left. Something could happen late that we make a move. But, as it stands right now, we're pretty excited about our roster. We have 12 scholarship players. We have 1 more scholarship to give, but we're pretty happy with our roster. We think we can compete nationally. We can compete in the Big East with that roster next year.
Nice to get Fred back too.
Oh yeah, finding depth at center position is so difficult, and Fred, it's a big summer for him. He's going to get a shot. We're going to try to get Kelk Benner off the court a little more. We thought we probably played him a little too much last year. We're going to try to get him off the court a little more so he can play better in his minutes, so he's not so tired and exasperated. We'll try to get it's a big summer for Fred, try to develop so he can play a bigger role for us next year.
Coach, you talked about replacing Baylor and Trey. Obviously, from a production standpoint, it's hard to find 2 guys in the country that produced more for their given team than those guys. We've all seen the reports coming from NBA Combine stuff. You've coached a lot of guys throughout the year that have gone on to play in the NBA. Obviously, your brother played in the NBA. What do you think about those 2 and their games potentially translating to that level?
Yep, I was fortunate enough to go to the NBA Combine last week, and I was able to talk to people and people in the NBA, and just by my knowledge too, both of them are NBA type players. Both of them are winners. They compete every night out. Consistency is big in the NBA. They're not looking for a guy that'll get you 20 points one night and then get you 2 the next. They want consistency. They want to be able before the game starts. They want to take their little scoreboard out. They got, we're going to know we're going to get 12 to 15 points out of Baylor or 12 to 15 points out of Trey. They both offer that consistency night in, night out. Both have different, unique ball skills. Trey's a long, rangy pick and roll player that can facilitate pick and roll. Baylor's a space and pace player that was awesome here for us, where he throw the ball, hit and chase, knows spatial awareness, and then really get off shots, and then he rebounds well for the position. He has great positional size too. So with those things right there, they both have a great chance. Both I think they can sneak in the first round. And, both of them are NBA players, and hopefully they get the right opportunity to have long, productive careers. And even if they don't get drafted right away where they want to, I coached a kid named Derrick Jones. I think he's in his 10th year of the NBA, and he went undrafted. And, now he's playing in his 11th year in the NBA, and he made a big shot the other night in NBA playoffs. So their road, whatever it may be, but I think it's a long road in the NBA.
Baylor really kind of shot up here after that. He got a lot of love after those first 2 scrimmages.
Yeah, well, he played. Baylor he's so smart, and he knows how to play in the flow system. Number one, because we do it here at Creighton, but he really knows how to play an NBA flow, and he really excelled over the NBA Combine just because of his knowledge and his ability to get shots and be able to make the shots.
We were talking about NIL. Most fans, I think, maybe have heard this, but if they haven't, we are going to go out of the Bahamas tournament and into a new tournament in Vegas where I think you get $1 million NIL. How huge is that? And we're signing a 3-year deal too, so it's going to be 3 years. That's just got to be enormous.
Well, when you're talking about NIL, I think that, like I said, we talked about it a little bit earlier. NIL, there's no 3 bigger words you can have, or letters you can have. NIL, name, image, likeness, and your ability to raise these funds is probably the most important thing that you can have in a program, and be able to, number one, be considered for this tournament, and then be able to obviously have them contribute to our collective $3 million over 3 years. It gives us a head start on some things to be able to get the players that we're accustomed to having here at Creighton, and so we can compete at the national scale.
And it's still a very competitive tournament.
Oh, it's a very competitive tournament. They could probably pick any team they really wanted, to be honest with you, because who's not going to put $1 million in their NIL fund,
Yeah.
So I think Maui and and the Bahamas are kind of threatened by it a little bit, as they should be, because, like I said, like if you have an opportunity to play for $1 million, you're not only getting $1 million to play in the tournament. If you win the tournament, they're going to give you another $1 million for the collective. So potentially it could be a really big thing for us.
Yeah, no kidding. What's the rest of summer look like for an assistant coach? You're on the go constantly. I understand that.
Blowing and going. Just keep it moving. Just got off the road. We were out recruiting in. Mac was in Indianapolis and Wichita. I was in Wichita and College Station, Texas. DK was in Indianapolis and Spooky Nook, Ohio. And Trey was in Bryan, Texas, and Indianapolis. Right after the season, just go back right after the season. I mean, you're going right to the transfer portal. I think we had like 10 kids in back-to-back days until we settled on 2 kids that we got with Jemiah and Pop-Up. And then, we're still trying to get that one more. So we had a lot of official visits. We're still getting kids in. And then you go on the road looking at looking at high school seniors, trying to see what that looks like, to put a list together there. And then, this summer will be lots of travel more. Probably go to the USA basketball tryouts this weekend, followed by FARC guys that we're recruiting, make the team U18. That's in Buenos Aires. So I'll go to the Buenos Aires to see the U18s. U17 World Championships are in Istanbul, Turkey. A couple of kids were recruited on that team, so we'll probably have representation out there. And then you get your traditional stuff in America like Peach Jam and those tournaments, Adidas 3 SSB. So it'll be eventful summer, trying to keep, for us, the biggest thing right now is in this era of recruiting is build and maintain relationships. So when things happen, the person to talk to.
Sure, absolutely. What else is happening with the program right now? How is Trey working in with how's that transition gone about?
It's awesome. Obviously, Trey, the reason Coach Mack and our staff hired him because he knew the program, knew the system, knew how we do things here, which is a little bit unique. I've coached at 7 different spots. This is being my 7th. What we do is a little bit more unique. It's a little more thorough. How we game plan, how we recruit. We really try to identify the right fit for us. We don't take anybody as far as players. We really dig in. Not only if they're what kind of character they are, whether they have to be selfless players here. So we dig into our recruiting. Not only do they have to be talented, but they have to be selfless. And then we really dig into our scouting stuff. I'm the offensive coordinator. DK will transition to defensive coordinator. Trey will take on special teams and personnel. And so everybody's engaged. Everybody's locked in on every single game and game plan. And he knows the system and style and what we look for and how we scheme, both offensively and defensively. So it'll be a seamless transition. And he's young and he's energetic, and he'll be able to relate to the players really well too.
What's just final question? You talked about the players coming in the second. What are the restrictions on how much we can work with the players and so forth during this time period?
Starting June 2nd, when we come back to school, we start school June 3rd. We're allowed 4 hours on the court and then 4 hours training. So, 2 hours a week we'll do skill training, and then 2 hours a week we'll do team training, where the skill work we'll work on dribble, our foundational stuff, dribble, pass, and shooting. Team workouts will go more like defensive, offensive schemes, start to build that process up. So when we get to September, October, November, we already got a nice little lead on all our schematic stuff, especially this year. We're going to add, last year we probably did a little more skill work. This year we're going to really try to build both our skill foundational base, but our team foundational base, because we're adding a lot of new pieces. So we're ready, and then we're going to do a lot of chemistry stuff. We'll probably do paintballing, and we'll probably go bowling, and just because this team hasn't been together as long as the last couple of years' teams. So we really want to try to form those team bonds and be able to get people on the same page. Because one thing we've been so good at, and why we've been good over the last 3 years, is like our team chemistry, our team bonding has been so strong, the selflessness within the program. I wanted to make a play for you, and you want to make a play for me. And that's eventually we want to make sure we have with this program too. And it'll be a little more trickier just because they haven't played as many games together.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you stopping by.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
And Coach's appearance is sponsored by Equitable Bank. 2 great area locations. One in the Old Mill location just north of the Charles Schwab headquarters, and their newest location out on Pierce Street in Elkhorn. Equitable Bank is involved with technology, providing new and improved services to customers while always offering superior customer service and satisfaction. Let them take the headache away from you for banking away. And check out their personal checking options, which include no minimum balance, free online payments, It's personal checking made easy. So go to EquitableBankOnline.com. Check out all they have to offer. That's Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and they do answer the phone on the first ring, and they're longtime sponsors of Bluejay Banter, and we appreciate that very much to Doug and everybody at Equitable Bank. Well, good chat with Coach Miller.
Yeah, give us a lot of good info.
Yeah, it's I always look at those guys like assistants and just shake my head and go, my God, I think my life is busy. I mean, they are just.
There's now compared to when I played. I mean, it's like night and day. With the portal, it's from what I understand, talking to not only our staff and other friends and acquaintances that are in that world, is your season would end. Usually at the D1 level, you basically have all your commits by the season's end.
Yeah,
anyways.
right.
So you're essentially kind of set. And April, you're not doing workouts with the guys really. It's really kind of a more relaxed time. Maybe there's a couple weekends in April where you're getting out and you're looking at high school kids for kind of the next recruiting cycle. And now that's been completely turned on its head, and it's portal. Get guys in, like Coach Miller said, almost every single day of the week, and try and fill out your roster. And you're kind of navigating your own roster coming and going, and NIL
it's just crazy
packages and fundraising. And so, it's I'm with you, Tim. I don't envy their position of busyness. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So let's before we jump, we're going to cover a couple more basketball topics here in a little bit. But before we do that, I thought we'd jump back and kind of put a bow on the spring sports season. First of all, softball team finished second in the Big East regular season and lost in the title game of the Big East, turning to Villanova. So a very, very successful season for the Jays. Bright times ahead. Under new coach Crystal Wood, who's done a fabulous job. So congratulations to her and the squad, and we look for a lot of great things ahead with the women's softball team. Men's golf had two members of the team make the All-Big East team. Sophomore Grant Feldman made second team, and Sean Campbell, the stud out of Australia, made first team Big East. I mean, that's really says something about guys at Creighton making first team at Big East, because we traditionally haven't had a lot of success in the golf field. I feel
like the past number of years have been much better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Judd Cornell was there for a while, and he kind of got things going. I got the opportunity this weekend to talk to Sean, who was out practicing out at Players Club. So I talked to him before my round and talked to him also after a round. And he's out there doing 3-hour putting drills. 3 hours. And you're talking Sean, and he goes, it's my job now. He's trying to get on the Americas Tour, which is basically used to have the Canadian Tour and a Latin American Tour, and they kind of joined together. Yeah. So the first half of the season is the Latin America, basically the old Latin America Tour. The second half is the Canadian Tour. And what they've done in the middle is kind of had this tournament where I don't know what the number is, but the bottom guys on that tour get basically kicked out and go into this tournament with new guys, and he's gotten a spot in that tournament.
Got it.
So if he can make win the tournament, get in those top 20 spots, I believe it is, then he will get on the Americas Tour full time. And then from there, you win. They have a year-end series just like the other tours. If you win, then you get a card to go to Korn Ferry. And so now it's kind of like a minor league system moving up the ladder. So it's a lot. It's a lot better.
There's a lot of that's a complex, for those the uninitiated. It's a very complex world of navigating professional golf that's been made even harder with the live stuff. So
right.
Yeah, that can change always. I mean, gosh, these guys can still. You can still qualify. You can still try and qualify on your own accord for the U.S. Open. And I know a number of players on the Creighton team, I think, did go out to OCC and try and qualify.
Nate Vance is going to qualify. He's on to the finals next Monday. He qualifies.
Sectionals, correct?
Yeah, but this is the final now. The guys, this is where the guys on the Pro Tour before the Memorial go and
correct
on that Monday and try and
if
qualify.
They haven't qualified already.
Right.
Yeah,
so Nate's into that qualifying now. I don't know what location he's going to do it from. Generally, those guys try and stay away from the Ohio one because that's where all the pros go because they're playing in the Memorial the next week. Although now Memorial is a special tournament where it's only the top 60, I believe. Gotcha. So probably all those guys are already in. So, but at any rate, different parts of the country have different numbers of guys that make it. So you kind of like try and figure out, okay, where's my best shot?
Where's the best shot?
Yeah. So I'll be looking for Nate to see if he can make it as well as Sean make it on the Americas Tour. Baseball, we were just talking about it off air. They finished up the season winning 2 out of 3 at Seton Hall. They finished the season 35-17. Pretty gaudy record, seriously, but only 7-13 in the Big East, so they didn't qualify for this weekend's Big East tournament, and that pretty much sealed their fate as far as getting an at-large. Had they won some more weekend games and gotten a Big East tournament, then they, without winning it, had they gotten to the final, they probably would have accrued over 40 wins, and with the quality of wins that they had, beating Coastal Carolina twice, beating Nebraska 3 times, not losing, beating Stanford twice. I mean, that was quite a run they went on during the midweek season this year. So had they done that, they would have got in. But we're going to turn to the big news of the day, and that is Coach Service will be back next season for his final year at Creighton. They have already made a decision. Next year is going to be Coach Service's final year. They are going to look at hiring a coach. They're doing a nationwide search. Basically a coach in waiting, as we've seen happen in other schools and in other sports. And that coach will be part of the staff next year. Coach Service will coach his last season. And he put out a statement saying, it's great that, the new coach will get to know the team, the program, the city, and everything going into his first full year. And that way he can make a better, it'll be a better transition. Everyone feels that way. So we're excited for Coach Service. I mean, he definitely deserves to go out on his own terms because he's been such a big part of Creighton athletics. And he's a tremendous baseball mind, as I've said millions of times. So we're excited about that and excited for next year because they've got a good chunk of their lineup coming back. And this was a lineup that could really hit the ball, and maybe, getting this new coach in too would help with recruiting and IL, so on and so forth. If they could if this season, for instance, had they not had the injuries to their starting pitching and they had a strong starting staff, a weekend staff, there's no doubt in my mind this team wouldn't be playing this weekend, the Big East tournament, and probably then on to the NCAA tournament because they built up enough equity. So we're excited about that. The spring sports lineup was sponsored by Infusion Brewing Company. Go to their website, infusionbrewing.com. Check out all they have to offer from their tasting room, great local fixture, the Crescent Moon Cafe. Infusion has something for everyone, everyone's taste, many craft beers and lagers, including the ever famous and ever popular Let It Fly beer, the fixture at Jay's Game, as well as right here at Let It Fly Sports Bar. So check them out today. That's Infusion Brewing Company. All right, we mentioned the schedule. What did you think about the big change from Bahamas to Vegas?
Obviously, a smart move given the NIL component if you can swing it. So it's just this NIL stuff is constantly changing the landscape of everything, as kind of Coach Miller alluded to in our interview. It's hard to envision, with the advent of this new NIL tournament. It's almost hard to envision some of these other tournaments like the Bahamas and Maui and all them going forward not offering something similar.
Yeah, I can't believe that they won't.
I'm almost shocked that they haven't yet this year. I don't know what these contracts say or how the writing of them, typically goes. But remind me, who is technically sponsoring our tournament?
That I do not know.
Okay, because
I don't know. That was kind of like it might have been in the initial press release, but if it was, it's a little bit buried because it doesn't readily come to mind. But to your point, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, they're talking next year there'll probably be 16 teams, and now you're probably talking the Dukes, the Michigan States, the Kansas, all joining this. We're in for 3 years, so we're in it, and they'll probably do, which I hard for me to see the Nike tournament going away, but what Phil Knight's done there, he had the 2 divisions where he had 8 teams over here and 8-team tournament here.
Which that's turned into a big thing around Thanksgiving, and I would imagine that one will go to an NIL, payment type model as well. Gosh, I mean, you think, especially considering the type of money Nike has. So
I would think so.
It's an interesting deal. When exactly are the dates?
Starts Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So they play Tuesday, Wednesday. They take Thanksgiving Day off, and then they wrap it up Friday.
Okay.
We've already made the decision. Bluejay Banter is going to be there in full force, along with the Let It Fly staff.
You're a Vegas guy, man.
And yes, for all you fans out there who have enjoyed our party bus twice when we've had these Vegas tournaments, we are firing that baby back up again this year.
I haven't been there in like a decade. I might have
Ross,
to
you got to go.
I know.
Come on, Ross.
There's been so many opportunities to do so as well. But
this will be a blast.
My feelings on this. The rest of the schedule, I am so happy that these administrations have come to their senses about when the Nebraska-Creighton game should be played. Folks, it should not be played on a Tuesday night. It should not be played on a Sunday. It should be played on a Saturday. And if not a Saturday, next best is Friday night, which is what we got because of the Nebraska-Wisconsin game. Big J-Sker weekend, Tim. But that's gonna be awesome. Obviously, KU. I was KU on Wednesday night. I think we've talked about this. I think UConn has a huge game that night too. Also in the games.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, there could be 3 big games that same night.
Yeah, and Marquette also. So I don't understand why that one's not Thursday or Friday, but we'll take it. Obviously, going to Alabama, which I think is also on a Saturday. If I'm
I would think it'd be that Saturday before we start Big East play in December.
Yes, it's like right before Christmas. Yeah. So could be, quite honestly, that could be interesting with the timing of if Alabama is still really good at football and now they have the expanded playoff, which the first games are at the campus site. That'll be interesting to see.
I'm sure these basketball schools that are football schools have had to kind of juggle all that around. The other thing that, to me, I know we're getting out of the Bahamas tournament, but I was kind of starting to get a little bit worried when we're playing Kansas, we're playing Alabama, we're playing Nebraska, and that Bahamas tournament was loaded. And I got to thinking about 2 years ago, I remember where we kind of said, man, that was just too much to handle that many games back to back.
Yeah.
And the fact that you had to fly and travel a distance. Now, or at least we're in the States, we're only a couple time zones away. The tournament is very good, but it's a little bit softer. Like, obviously, we won't play Alabama. They'll put us, if they do the 8-team tournament, they'll put Alabama on the opposite side. So there's a pretty good chance we wouldn't meet them.
But there is a possibility we could play Alabama twice.
Right,
in the
but
non-conference.
they may go to a 4-4 concept.
Got it.
And it wouldn't be a quote-unquote tournament. You would play those 3 teams in your 4-pod. They would play those. They would just crown a champion by who won the most games and so forth. I don't know how they would do it, but that would probably be better in some respects. But that is a very, very good field, and I expect next year, the fact that we're signed up for 2 more years after this one, next year it'll have just blue blood crazy. It'll be crazy tournament.
Yep.
And what a great way. And over on BluejayBanter.com, which I segue to, we had people over there saying, well, I guess I'm going to tell the wife for the next 3 years we're spending Thanksgiving in Vegas. There could be worse places. Speaking of BluejayBanter.com, we have the golf tournament coming up July 27th, 8 a.m. over at Dodge Riverside, right across the river over by Harrah's. The big move this year is we are going to have all of the post-tournament activities, the raffle drawing, the winners in the silent auctions, the winners of the golf tournament. The whole meal and celebration will all be right here at Let It Fly. So that is like the hugest.
That is really nice.
Yeah, and it's a short 5-minute less drive from the golf course to here. Yep. So that's going to be awesome. Not only that, we're going to have the entire place to ourselves for a couple hours. So it's just going to be.
That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, as good. You're right, Ross. As good as it gets. So you're probably saying, well, how do I get involved in this? Well, easy. just Google Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament. You'll see a link to the perfect golf event. Just click on it, and you'll have all the instructions to sign up. Maybe you're not a golfer. You go, I don't golf at all. Gosh, that sounds awesome. Hey, we also have coaches that come here and speak at our post tournament celebration. So maybe you're like, geez, I'd like to have the meal. I'd like to come and hear the coaches speak. Maybe I could even buy some raffle tickets, so forth. There is a link on that site where you can just get the post golf tournament party. There's an option for that as well. So go and check it out. If you've been in our golf tournament before, this is year 12, but this is actually, we're making this into a celebration of the 15th anniversary of Bluejay Banter, which just recently occurred last week. So that's why we've done some special stuff for you, having you here to let it fly and so forth. As you know, we have every year people say, wow, this is just the best tournament there is that I play, and I play in a lot of these because we have tons of prizes. We have over $100 hole prize on every single hole, plus a hole, close to the pin to go on a cruise. We have tons of silent auction. I got some great stuff this year. I've got autographed posters of the whole team last year. I've got a picture of Kyle Korver turning out the lights in the Civic. That's kind of cool.
It's an interesting photo.
Yeah. And we've got all kinds of other things. We'll get Ryan, who was with us earlier, obviously his connection with Let It Fly. We'll get him involved in getting some more memorabilia for us for the silent auction and so forth. We're raising all this money. Basically, you could say it goes toward NIL. It goes toward all of our production costs, part of that being quote-unquote NIL when we have players come after the games, every game. That's part of an NIL function. So it really helps out with that and helps us get the players here more regularly for this show as well. And then all of the trips we talked about going to Vegas and so forth, and hopefully on to many NCAA tournament games. So check it out. It's the Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament. Just type in Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament. Google that. It'll come up. We're also going to get a QR code from our fabulous producer. Val's going to rig one of those up, so we'll have that ready to go, and we'll have that out on the sites and so forth on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or X, whatever you would prefer. We're going to have a great meal here. We've already got work on that, so it's going to be fabulous. So check it out. And sign up. And while you do, check out BluejayBanter.com. It's a great time to sign up. Rivals has a ton of specials this time of year to get people to sign up. The message board's been hopping. It'll continue to hop as we get into the NBA draft. We get into hiring that coach in waiting for baseball. And then as these players come in, we'll get to some practices, give you some scouting reports on how they're doing in their transition. So check it all out. That's BluejayBanter.com. We also want to mention a great sponsor of ours, West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Robert Hogan and the staff have been longtime sponsors of Bluejay Banter. Whether you have a dental emergency or just need a checkup, Pacific Dental Group is the one for you. So they will give you compassionate care and consult you on every move. So call them today, 402-697-0765. Next week is Memorial Day, so we will take that. We don't work on holidays, Ross and I. So we're going to take that day off, so enjoy that with your family. Enjoy the Memorial Day holiday, and we'll be back here on June 3rd for another edition of Bluejay Banter, and we will effort maybe some of these new guys that are showing up.
Yeah, might as well chat with them.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
By the way, we also, when I spoke earlier about Sean Campbell going there, he is going to he's thinking about making his home base Omaha. He likes it so much here. So if he's in town at all, we're going to bring him on to one of these future shows as well and talk about the golf season and talk about how his future and so forth, because, you know, it's so great when we get these players and athletes that leave Creighton and go out and do things all around the country. Think of Taryn Cloth, who's going to be in the Olympics and probably favored to win the sand volleyball. You know, think of the number of times Creighton's going to be mentioned during that broadcast and things like that. And now you got like Baylor and Trey getting ready for the NBA draft, and on it goes. Doug in the Eastern Finals. I wish Doug would get a little more run, man.
Yeah, it's it's hard that, he goes to a playoff team that's, they got they kind of had a lot of roles already set. I agree, though. I think they could really use his shooting off the bench, so it's frustrating. But yeah, Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh my God! National emergency occurring. Caitlin Clark limping off the floor. Oh, my word. The travesty. Okay, so we will be with you June 3rd, right back here, 6 p.m. Let it fly. You can always come down here, watch the show, have a bite to eat, some refreshments on a warm, warm day like we have today.
It is warm. It is
yes,
warm.
And make sure.
You must have the Big Ten tournament?
Yes, starts tomorrow. Okay. We were just, Val, the producer, and I were just talking about that, how I think Sharp and Hanley were talking about how even though Nebraska's in it, nobody is talking about it. Like, it's here in Omaha. It's like it's starting to get to be old hat, and those people are going to start saying, well, we ought to move it somewhere else to make it, give it more excitement. I can hear that coming.
Well, where else would it go that would get such an I just feel like unless you're at one of these SEC schools that has pretty nice attendance, it's just college baseball, for right or wrong, it's just not that relevant until the College World Series. They can't even drum up the interest really for Big Ten. The Big Ten tournament's been here a million times now, and the attendance is never very good.
Well, now that the Big Ten has expanded, I would think having it in LA where they show up like for UCLA games and USC games a lot, or Oregon, they show up, they pack that place, or I think some of the schools have said they would like it like in Indy. Indy's got a beautiful ballpark downtown. If they can have the Big Ten tournament there, it's more centrally located. Some schools can drive, and it's just – but, hey, the Big Ten signed the deal. Yeah, the Big East would love to come back here, but, now –
Yeah, I just saw a number – the reason I asked, I saw a number of shout out to the Illinois baseball team. I saw a number of their players riding around on Lime scooters out there.
Oh, really?
So
I was wondering why we haven't seen some fans rolling in.
Something must be up. I put two and two together.
Yep. All right, so we'll be back with you on June 3rd. Everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend, and thanks for watching.